Hello, I'm Frank Felker with Digital Media Positioning, and I'm joined today by best-selling author of the book Note Investing Made Easier, Martin Saenz. Martin, thank you for joining me today.
Thank you, Mr. Felker. Thank you for having me.
We've gotten a chance to get to know each other pretty well and work together over a course of months. And what I wanted to talk to you about is your experience working with me, working with Digital Media Positioning, in becoming a published author, a best-selling author, and a recognized authority in your field. And I felt like the best way to do is sort of a chronological basis of, I believe it was February of 2017. As the legend goes, you were driving back from a note investing conference with a mutual friend of ours. And I will let you pick up the story from there.
Sure. I had been involved in note investing for about 4 years on a full-time basis. And so a friend of mine had, suggested, because I had, really just spent time, focus, and money on really becoming an expert in the note industry, that, my friend's like, well, you should put a book out on the subject. And, my first thought is that, I have put together training manuals. I have put together material on note investing that has helped me hone my system. However, I really, with having 3 children, with, having, managing my own, managing real estate properties and my own notes and everything, I'm like, well, maybe not. I don't have the time commitment for that. And then, our mutual friend had mentioned that, hey, Frank can help you, tie everything up by doing podcast, and he can make it a very smooth, easy transition for you to be able to publish a book on your topic, and then from that you can share to the world what it is you're doing with note investing.
And so, what was your expectation in terms of whether or not, did you have any concern that this process was not going to work, or that any angst that you were going into this kind of blindfolded and weren't sure what was going to come out the other side? Or did you go into the process confident that you would end up with a product that you'd be proud of?
I had, I think that, at first I didn't understand the full, the full scope of what was being offered by your company. I didn't understand what type of workload that it would be for me to work with your company to put out a book. And I didn't know about the quality of the book. So, from that, but I knew that, having known you, I think I knew you for about 6 years or 7 years before that. I knew that the quality of the man, if you will, and the quality, and then, I knew that you knew your craft. So, I said, well, I have to just understand what this would be for myself. So at that point, you and I connected for lunch. And you showed me a copy of a book that you had published, and it looked very professional. The book cover looked professional. The text, the writing was was a very good quality writing. So I was interested at that point, and then you eased my mind with letting me know that we could host a series of podcast videos, and then you could transcribe text from those videos to help me put the book together.
Great. And I don't, we could go into a lot of different details about the production process, but I'd rather now switch over to what your experience has been from the point that the book was published. It was officially published on May 5th, 2017. And it immediately debuted as an Amazon #1 bestseller. And so now suddenly you have a Kindle book and you have a paperback book, and you then went forth. My first question is, what was your reaction when you got the actual printed books in your hand?
Well, the book again is called Note Investing Made Easier. So everyone listening to this or reading this should definitely pick up a copy for themselves. And I just want to add on to that. There's also an audiobook version as well, in addition to the paperback and Kindle. To answer your question, and my wife and I still laugh about this, but you had mentioned at lunch, you're like, we're just emphasizing, hey, this will be a great business card for you, having this book. And I kind of went into, I transacted with you because I wanted to have that business card, but also it's always been a lifelong goal to write a book. So those two things you satisfied. But from the point that the book came out, and you, with your services, with your PR services, you ensured that it was an Amazon bestseller book. Well, people, it's been selling consistently since the book was put out. Consistent monthly sales numbers, and putting passive money and income into my pocket every month. So it's been a great revenue generator. I mean, it's nothing you're going to retire off of, but if in the whole scheme of things, if you have a whole product line, well, you need to have a book to start your product line, right? Because otherwise you're asking a client to go from just meeting you to buying $1,000 product or service that you have. Well, why not have something that they can buy for $15 so it can really sell them on why they should spend $1,000 on up with you. So it really helped fill that gap for me.
How about the way you were perceived within your industry after the book came out and after it became a bestseller?
Sure. The first thought was that, again, this would be a good business card to just go and do further reach out within the note industry, further build relationships. But what I found is it transformed me from being a average note investor or a basic note investor to an expert note investor. So I started from that. I started getting interview requests to do webinars. I've been asked. I just got asked yesterday to host a panel at an upcoming conference. I'm exhibiting. I'm actually selling workshops and mentorship programs that are just driving new lines of income into my pocket, which has just been phenomenal.
Well, and I must say, you really took the bull by the horns once you achieved that status of best-selling author, and were seen as a recognized subject matter expert within your industry. You got right after it and started producing and promoting these workshops and the other services that you offer, and really generated a tremendous amount of revenue in a very short amount of time. And which brings us to the next thing. You've had such success with Note Investing Made Easier that now you and I are working on a second project. Can you tell us about that?
Sure. It's an area that I know that I'm an expert in, about double the amount that I'm an expert in as a note investor. My wife and I started a government contracting business 12 years ago, whereby we sold products and services to the federal government on a prime level as a small business out of our basement. So it's a story of how a husband and wife started a business out of their basement with very little capital and only really just kind of drive and ambition, and just worked all the networks, learned all the systems and processes to get into the federal government on a prime level, cutting out any middleman, not being a sub, not taking crumbs, but working as a prime, where the contract award has your name on it. So we did that for a number of years. And so I just I'm putting together a book now that's just going to tell the story, because I want a lot of other small businesses around the country and around the globe to not be intimidated anymore, to know that they too can go out and obtain prime federal contracts.
And because I've had the opportunity to engage with your content at such a deep and detailed level, I know what great content it is, what value there is in it. I want you to, if you would, speak to this. If you had not chosen to share what you knew about note investing, or had not chosen to share what you know about government contracting, hundreds, maybe thousands of people would have not had the benefit of your experience, who do now and will in the future. What would you say to somebody who feels as though, oh, I don't feel like I should put myself out there as an expert. I don't want to write a book. I'm not that guy. I think I'll just, sit back and not engage with this opportunity.
Well, I think the first thing that I'd say is, for anyone who is an expert that may not feel they are, or they know as much as some people ahead of them, there's always people that are behind you. So, take it as an obligation, take it as a calling in life to want to go and uplift your fellow man. And I think that's an important thing, just kind of from a, the more you give, the more you receive kind of philosophy. So on that basic level. But what I'll say though is that when you use digital media positioning to go and help you construct the book, help you put it out, help you have a book that's a bestseller, you transform yourself into a bona fide expert that will last you the rest of your lifetime. And not only are you helping educate, helping uplift other people that are all around you, or newbies that come into the industry, but you are opening multiple lines of potential cash flow for yourself for many years to come. So all that is extremely positive. How would you not take advantage of that? I mean, what could you be doing that could be better than that? And the answer is not much. In my mind, I mean, you're an expert because you put your wear and tear, because you put your whole heart into something. And so why not have that? Why not be rewarded financially and as well as emotionally on a very high level by writing a book on it?
One last question. I appreciate you spending the time with me today, Martin. Obviously, a big reason why someone might say no to this is because it requires a pretty significant investment. What would you say relative to, just in general terms, the return on investment that you've been able to achieve?
All right, I'll share numbers. I mean, in 7 months from you helping, or you actually spearheading getting my book published, I've brought in $150,000. So of income with very little. Actually, the only expenses against that has been your services, to be honest with you. But here's the thing, though. Anybody, when you go and you show them the work that you've done, when you show them case studies, when you show them all the work that you're putting in to this, if they feel like they're going back and forth on the money, then they're just not ready in general, and they're not your client. So, I mean, that's probably, I don't know if that's what you want to hear here, but it is very true. There's so many people that are on the fence. They're half stepping. They're not, fully committing, and so those are not your ideal customers. You know what your ideal customer is, that it's someone that wants it now. They want more out of life than what they're currently getting. They need a boost. They need to have forward advancement on a massive level. and that person is Frank Felker's client. So if you feel like you need massive improvement in your life, you need a lot of forward progress, then Frank's your guy. That's what I'll say. Based on if and expert, whatever you're an expert in, I don't think it matters, because I think, Frank, you deal with all types of backgrounds.
Sure. Any industry. Well, Martin, I really appreciate you taking the time to share those thoughts with me. And it's a very heartfelt compliment and honor for me to hear you say those things, because you and I have spent many, many long hours working together, and we've really gotten to know each other. And I have a great deal of respect for you and everything that you've accomplished. So thank you so much for your kind words.
Thank you, Frank.
Thanks again to Martin Saenz, and thank you for joining us. Until next time, I'm Frank Felker.